Thank you everyone for joining us for the session today. As you can see, we already have a good number in the room. So maybe just a brief start off as we get started. I'll bring my screen up. Let me know when you guys can see it all. Then we get the conversation going.
Yes, we can see.
Thank you. Great. So thank you everyone for joining us for this conversation today. Coming in from our end, I'm Odhiambo David, lead part of the leadership team at African Pharmaceutical Network, and I'll be moderator for the day in terms of our conversation around navigating ZAZIBONA recommendation adoption, the experiences, challenges, and opportunities. And in this conversation, mostly it's going to be our national regulatory authorities and stakeholders who will be sharing about what do they observe when we make submissions from industry. What are the key improvements that we need to make, but also what are the improvements they're making to make the processes and the regulatory harmonization process work better in ensuring that we safeguard the needs of the public and the patients that we are serving, ultimately guaranteeing reliable access to safe, effective, and quality medicines in the continent and for the people who are counting on us to do that. In this process, there are some couple of ground rules that we do have for the day. And the ground rules basically kind of a guide of how we're going to run the session. It's 1.5 hours. We're hoping that we'll be able to end the call by the end or top of the hour. That is by 4:30. Like that, the 4:30 Kenyan time. I know we are working from different geographical regions, so ultimately the time will be linked to that. This is one of our flagship programs, and the essence of it is for you to network with other people, get to learn what's happening in other spaces, but also to build relationships and networks. So therefore, then we encourage you to network on the chat, use your own LinkedIn account, share your LinkedIn account link, and introduce yourself by name, the organization you're working for, and the country that you're joining the call from. Your microphones and cameras are muted. Essentially, this is to avoid distractions and disruption during the call, but we're hoping that would not be a challenge. And therefore, then after when we get to the Q&A, you'll just raise your hand. I'll be able to unmute you or unmute you and allow you to raise your questions when you have them. In the interim, please take advantage of the Q&A chat box so that you can post your questions when it comes up during the discussions. Ultimately, they will be responded to during the call after the initial presentation that we will have had. Any pressing questions, share them in the tab or even for tracking purposes, but also use the chat comment section. We'll be doing the tracking and ensuring that we have all those covered and captured for our session as we move along. So that is how we're going to run through the session. In case of any concerns, feel free to raise your hand and I'll be able to respond to you and sort you where I need to be. As an introduction, for those of us who are in the call, you've never known about African Pharmaceutical Network, or this is the first time you are getting to interact with us. African Pharmaceutical Network is a platform. Essence of our engagement is to bring together professionals, stakeholders, and organizations within Africa's pharmaceutical industry with the aim of ensuring we promote knowledge sharing, shape policies, and foster innovative partnerships so that we ensure there's reliable access to safe, effective, and quality medicines in the continent. The foundational piece and why we came into place was that in 2020, during COVID and every conversation that was happening, we realized each of the different facets and segments were operating in their silos. And what we tried and worked towards bringing is together is to have a common platform where we have regulators, industry professionals coming together to shape a future for what we aspire for the industry. And in that case, then we can learn from each other, but we can also build partnerships that deliver value in that ecosystem. So that is what we hope for, and that is what we aspire for as African Pharmaceutical Network. And that is the essence of having African Pharmaceutical Network as the convening platform and partner to enable these conversations, but also to enable the partnerships and committed engagement to shape a vision and a strategy for the African pharmaceutical industry. And our mission is to ensure reliable access to safe, effective, and quality health products and technologies in Africa through strategic investments in workforce development, business ecosystem support, and policy shaping. That is what we are looking towards. We are guided by a couple of values, and these values are mostly by the virtue that we believe There's all of us, we serve humanity, we're human beings, and therefore humanity is the fundamental piece. If we are serving human beings by getting them the products they need, we are achieving the ultimate goal of our work that we're doing. And if we can serve humanity through by being of utmost integrity, professionalism in whatever we are doing, creating value for clients and people who we are engaging with, and ultimately working together as teams, then we're able to achieve the aspiration that we have for the pharmaceutical industry. And those are the grounding principles and values that power the work we do as African Pharmaceutical Network. In terms of scope of activity that we do, we have a lot of our work at the moment is around pharmaceutical workforce development, where we do offer professional development courses and corporate training programs, but we also have regulatory service support systems, RA, pharmacovigilance, quality assurance systems, business ecosystem support ranging from market research, intelligence, talent management, and access. And then the last bit is around policy shaping and partnership, where we engage with policymakers to drive changes in policy, but also to drive implementation and adoption of policies by industry stakeholders. So it's a cross-cutting engagement where we are enabling each and every stakeholder by being the convening platform, but also a technical partner to deliver that value. To make this work happen, we're supported by a team at an advisory board of 3. We have John Paul Omolo, we have Kirtina Sai, and McDonald Mose, who are the 3 board members. And then we have our core management team, the operational team that you can see, myself, my colleagues Kelvin Odongo, Dr. Esther Nyango, Dr. Mesiba Denish, Dr. Nushri Patau, and we have the secretariat as well, Dr. Lucy Machocho, Juliet Ouma, and I believe most of you have already received an email also from Juliet and Thomas Ugola, who has been part of our team. So how can you engage with us? And I think it's a good opportunity. If you look at it as a membership platform, you can come on board as an individual member, which is open to students and professionals. Students, $25 per year, professionals, $50 per year. We're making it as affordable as possible, but also getting people to join us. So I'd encourage you to join and become our members. Some of the benefits for individual members is training opportunities at discounted rates, access to professional networks and opportunity to build those networks that you're working towards. We also have access to consulting opportunities or any projects that we're working on. And most importantly, shaping the future through thought leadership and industry leadership opportunities. From an institutional membership, we have 2 tiers as well again, African institutional members, and we have international institutional members with different cost level. The African institutional members have to be organization founded and domiciled within Africa, with operation in at least one of the countries at $1,000 per year. We have international institutional members, organizations that are domiciled in any country outside of the continent, but with operations or interest in the continent, at $2,500 USD. The benefits, market intelligence, business linkages, and all the other projects that we're offering, mostly at a discounted rate, but you also have the opportunity to have your organizational members in the respective committees and the communities of practice, and therefore then you're contributing to the growth of the industry as we all aspire for. Those are critical ones. These are some of our partners that we have in the organization, and we're still building. And for those who are keen on being our partners, being our members, please do reach out, and we'd be glad to have a conversation. So you can become a member, you can partner with us on projects, but you can also learn with us. At the moment, we are actually enrolling for the cohort 3 of our 3 training programs that we currently have: regulatory affairs, pharmaceutical supply chain management, and pharmacovigilance and patient safety. I'll share with you on the chat a link to our website where you can get the 3 courses, get to know what the scope of them are, and also how you can engage. One unique thing that I would want to mention here is that we've tried as much as possible to ensure that our training programs have the scientific rigor from an academic angle, but also informed by practice, by ensuring that our training faculty are people who are practicing in industry. So there's that blend of practical, pragmatic information, but also grounded on scientific evidence to deliver value and ensure the sustainability in terms of the quality of our training programs. That is a critical piece that we do. And with that, I'll stop sharing my screen and introduce our first speaker for the session. And our first speaker is going to be Zanel Gladys Zaba, who is a medicines registration officer with South Africa Health Products and Regulatory Authority. She's a medicines registration officer, SAPRA, with over 15 years experience in health product regulation. Her current role entails assessing the quality and bioequivalence aspects of product dossiers according to the SAPRA regulation, SADC, and the IMA and WHO guidelines. She also acts as the focal person for ZAZIBONA, the procedure that we're talking about today, which is going to be looking at in terms of what are the experiences they have. She's passionate about playing an integral role in ensuring access to safe, effective, and quality health products. Also, Bachelor of Science in Pharmacology from the University of Witwatersrand, South Africa, and postgraduate diploma in health economics from the University of Cape Town, South Africa. So I'll hand it over to you, Zanel. I believe I'll bring your slide up just now. Let me know when you can have it so that I can support.
Thank you for the wonderful welcome, Chairperson, Dr. David. And to all the APN representatives, industry representatives, thank you for your kind attention. I would like to take this opportunity to thank our unit manager, Mr. Mpako, our senior manager, Ms. Silverani, and our head of agency, our CEO, Dr. Dumi, for the honor afforded me to represent SAPRA in this prestigious event. Also, I would like to thank Mr. Kile for the opportunity given to SAPRA to be here. Permit me to share with you how SAPRA has been navigating ZAZIBONA recommendation adoption, the experiences we've had, challenges, and opportunities that we see going forward. Next slide, please. This is an overview of how I would like, thank you. I'm hoping to take us through how SAPRA has been translating ZAZIBONA recommendations into national registrations. I'll take us through the registration process, experiences we've had, challenges and opportunities that we see going forward. Next slide, please. SAPRA reviews products that have a ZAZIBONA recommendation via the accelerated product review pathway. This means that when the applicant has specified on their application cover letter that they would like the application reviewed via the ZAZIBONA review pathway, the application skips the business as usual queue of applications and enters the ZAZIBONA review pathway. The benefit of that is that the products reviewed via the ZAZIBONA pathway will ideally be finalized within 90 working days from when we receive them. On the left-hand side of the screen, we have what we call our Health Products Authorization Unit, or HPA. The applicant should specify that their product has a ZAZIBONA recommendation when they submit it to us via the HPA unit, so that when we receive the application at the HPA unit, it may be flagged as a ZAZIBONA application on our health product status tracker. This alerts all units that are relevant for that particular product to know that it's a ZAZIBONA application, therefore the review of that application needs to be accelerated, which is different from BAU applications. And applications that are compliant with all administrative and technical screening requirements at the HPA stage, they will then progress to be assessed via the ZAZIBONA pathway in these units: the quality unit, clinical unit, names and scheduling unit, GMP inspectorate unit. Now, this is where we adopt the ZAZIBONA recommendation. For an example, for GMP statuses of the final pharmaceutical product manufacturing site, our GMP inspectorate unit adopts the ZAZIBONA recommendation fully. There are rare instances where there'll be a need for assessment via desktop review for the same site. And this enables that the review process be efficient and streamlined. The names and scheduling unit conducts assessment of the suitability and applicability of the proposed proprietary names. The clinical unit also fully adopts the ZAZIBONA recommendation for the bioequivalence or the efficacy and safety aspects of the product. The clinical unit will only conduct assessment of the SAPRA-specific aspects of that product that relate to the SMPC and the PIL. The quality unit also fully adopts the ZAZIBONA recommendation as it relates to the quality aspects of the product. We will conduct some assessment on the Module 1 aspects of the product and Module 3 to R. At any time in these assessments, if there are queries that need to be sent to the applicant, it is ideal that the applicant timely responds to those queries and submit a compliant response at initial response phase. Our regulations allow applicants to submit 2 to 3 responses. However, because for ZAZIBONA applications, we target that the application be finalized within 90 working days, we need the collaboration from the applicant to timelessly respond to any queries so that we may meet that timeline. When all queries have been addressed, each unit will issue a recommendation for approval for that particular product, and those recommendations will serve before the registration committee. The registration committee meetings convene every week to endorse the registration of compliant ZAZIBONA applications. If applications or that particular product is not compliant with any of the SAPRA-specific requirements, it will be recommended for rejection. We have in SAPRA systems in place to ensure that we ideally meet that 90 working day timeline to finalize applications that have a ZAZIBONA recommendation. And that is having weekly review meetings to track the status on the progress of applications within SAPRA that have a ZAZIBONA recommendation. Also, the registration committee meets every week to ensure that whenever there's a positive recommendation, it should be endorsed timelessly without any delay. Next slide, please. So SAPRA has been in collaboration with ZAZIBONA since March 2016. We received our first application in December of that same year. Since that time, SAPRA has processed 78 master applications, reviewing those applications as ZAZIBONA products. 10% of that 78 was recommended for rejection by ZAZIBONA, and SAPRA fully adopted that recommendation. One of those applications was recommended for approval by ZAZIBONA. However, because the application could not meet the SAPRA-specific clinical unit requirements, we could not recommend the registration. 9% of the applications were withdrawn from the ZAZIBONA platform because applicants were not submitting their responses timelessly. And that would mean that there's a delay in the processing of those applications at ZAZIBONA level. So then there's usually a recommendation to say that the NRA will finalize those applications. The applicants eventually would submit the applications to SAPRA, and we registered them. That's 9% of the 78. Next, we have the number of applications that we have registered since reviewing ZAZIBONA applications, and that's about 56 of them. So it totals about 72%. And we are delighted to share that the number of applications that we've registered, they are very much aligned with SAPRA and Southern African's public health emergency targeted type of products. 15% of those are anti-cancer medicines, 13% ARVs, 11% anti-diabetics, another 11% are antihypertensives. The other 50% includes antibiotics, antiemetics, cardiovascular disease treatments, opioids, reproductive health products. And we look forward to this continued collaboration with ZAZIBONA. So we have about 4% of the products that we reviewed via ZAZIBONA withdrawn by the applicants themselves for their own reasons. We aligned with those withdrawals, and another 4% where applicants could not submit unredacted reports for reliance review that they requested for their applications. SAPRA eventually registered them using the business as usual route. So these are the experiences that we've had thus far, and we look forward to a continuation of these. There is some challenges that we've experienced, and that is reflected in this slide. In the last financial year, from April 2024 to March 2025, we registered a few of applications that were reviewed via ZAZIBONA pathway. So the numbers you see on the bars is the number of months that it took SAPRA to finalize the application after ZAZIBONA had finalized the application at the ZAZIBONA level. So when we equate to the 90 working days, we arrive at about 4 months to ensure that the application would have received finalized, whether certification for registration or non-approval if it's not compliant here in SAPRA. We were able to meet that timeline for most of the products. However, the challenge we've seen was that at the time we were not employing the start clock, stop clock process to ensure that when we count the number of days that application spends with SAPRA, it's only the number of days that will be reflected here. However, the challenge was that we have not been doing that, and the 12 and the 7 reflects both the time that the application spent with SAPRA and with the applicant. For an example, the applicant would not be able to submit their compliant response timelessly. We were not able to meet the timeline for the 12 months application. It was eventually registered, but we would have loved for it to have been met the 90 working day timeline. And the 7-month product was also registered. We are just mindful and are targeting to ensure that the 90 working day timeline is met, because this is the agreement that our head of agency has agreed with the ZAZIBONA Collaborative Office to ensure that once ZAZIBONA has issued a positive recommendation and the applicant desires that application or product to be registered in South Africa, we will finalize it within 90 working days. However, we now have learned from these challenges, and we look forward to implementing that stop clock, start clock process to ensure that we quantify the time the application spends in SAPRA in targeting that 90 working day deadline. This is what I have to share with you as of our experiences. Thank you so much. Thank you for your time.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Zanel. In case you have any questions, in case you have any concerns, please use the Q&A and even the chat box. And I can see people are introducing themselves. Please continue with that. I'll go to the next speaker who will be talking to us about the experience. And this is Ethel Sebua from Botswana. We'll be talking about the experience from the Botswana Medicines Regulatory Authority. Ethel is a dedicated pharmaceutical professional with over a decade of experience in the medicines regulatory sector. She holds a Bachelor of Pharmacy degree from the University of Limpopo, South Africa, and a diploma in pharmacy technology from the Institute of Health Sciences in Gaborone, Botswana. Driven by a strong commitment to public health, she is passionate about ensuring that only medicines of assured quality, safety, and efficacy are approved and made accessible to patients. Her professional development has been shaped by participation in various national, regional, and international trainings focused on regulatory science and good regulatory practice. She currently serves as a dossier assessor at the BOMRA, that is Botswana Medicines Regulatory Authority, where she's responsible for evaluating medicines registration applications, preparing detailed technical reports, and presenting findings to the BOMRA Registration Committee for regulatory decision-making. In addition to her role, she's BOMRA's focal person for the WHO Collaborative Registration Procedure, that is CRP, for vaccines, as well as for the ZAZIBONA initiative. She works closely with the ZAZIBONA coordinator to ensure timely closure of applications assessed through this collaborative process. She also prepares technical reports at ZAZIBONA plenary meeting and supports logistical coordination when BOMRA hosts these technical sessions in collaboration with the authority's public relations office. So I'll hand it over to you, Ethel, to just share in terms of the experience that you've had and also opportunities for engagement from the industry. Over to you.
Thank you very much for the beautiful introduction. I hope you can see my slide.
Yes, we can see it. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you again, and thank you also to BOMRA Management and ZAZIBONA for allowing me this opportunity to also share with you BOMRA's experience with ZAZIBONA. So the outline of my presentation, I'll introduce BOMRA and then talk to the benefits that we have experienced with the process. And then I'll talk to the translation of the recommendations from previous and current ZAZIBONA process. As you may be aware that ZAZIBONA has since been improved, which is what I believe Ms. Mwedi Sakile has shared with you previously. And then I'll talk also to the process summary in BOMRA, how to submit and how we process the applications, progress to date regarding the ZAZIBONA. And then I'll also touch on the challenges and how we address them. So BOMRA, we are a corporate body established under the Section 3 of Medicines and Related Substances Act. And then we are responsible for ensuring the safety, efficacy, and quality of medicines and related substances which are registered here in Botswana, including human, vet medicines, medical devices, and cosmetics. And we have been a member of ZAZIBONA since inception. We are one of the members who started the process, and we remain to be one of the active member states for the process. So we, having been part of this process for this long, we have benefited a lot. We were able to harmonize our regulatory standards to align to the region. And then we were able to reduce workload and timelines to registration through this process. And as you may be aware, we have also reduced duplication of effort, since products which have been evaluated through the ZAZIBONA, when it comes now to BOMRA, we just do verification and then we close the applications. Hence, there has been reduced duplication and also improved efficiency. And ZAZIBONA for BOMRA has served as a huge platform for training of technical staff. So we, for a long time, have really benefited from the leveraging on expertise that ZAZIBONA member states would share. So this is just a few of what we have managed to benefit by being part of this process. And we continue to benefit even today, and we believe we'll go on to benefit even in the years to come. So now coming to the translation of the recommendation, this is a high-level summary of just how BOMRA closes applications which have been assessed through the ZAZIBONA process. So for the legacy products, where ZAZIBONA had made a positive recommendation, 103 products, which we also, as BOMRA, did apply the same decision to close those applications by approval. And then where there were 14 products which ZAZIBONA had recommended rejection for, of all those, we did reject 9 out of the 14, but approved 5. And to make you aware that these 5 that were approved, this would be products where maybe ZAZIBONA would have rejected because of inadequate data. But then, since our process, when we close applications, includes sending out intents to reject applications before we actually reject them, where we give reasons for rejection. And when we give reasons, we list all the outstanding issues which would be the cause for rejection of the products. Where possible, we've seen applicants commit and do indeed submit the missing information, even though it would be then way beyond the timelines, but ultimately these products have been accorded an approval. And then with the current process, which has changed now to say, since now the applicants just submit, as part of the submission of the application, they also submit a positive recommendation letters from ZAZIBONA. For these ones to date, we started the first approvals are these 3, which we did in the last registration committee meeting, which was held in June. So all the 3 products, which translate to 10 because they were all multiple strands, they were all, BOMRA did approve the product in line with ZAZIBONA's recommendation, as was suggested. We do also have some which we have received in the past month, July, around also 10 of them which have been submitted, which have positive recommendation, which we are going to be closing in the next registration committee sitting, which is to be held by the end of this month of August. So for the same ones also, we will align with what ZAZIBONA has recommended. Generally, we do align. We do take the recommendation as proposed by ZAZIBONA, only in few cases, as I have indicated. And then in terms of what BOMRA does for applications which are submitted currently, which do have a positive recommendation letter from ZAZIBONA, we expect applicants to pay the applicable screening and registration fees as per BOMRA requirements. And then they're expected to submit the updated dossier in line with the BOMRA registration quality and any other applicable guidelines as shared with the applicants through our website. And then one critical important thing that applicants are expected to do to facilitate timely closing of these applications is that they're supposed to choose ZAZIBONA pathway on the BOMRA submission portal, our BRIMS. We have to date prepared a guideline, which is also available on our website, where we share what we expect the applicants to submit when they follow this process in order to facilitate timely closure. So one of the things also we expect applicants to submit is a signed declaration indicating that the dossier they are submitting to us is the same one as submitted, reviewed, and recommended for approval by ZAZIBONA. And then also they share a letter where they confirm to us that indeed they have authorized ZAZIBONA to share assessment reports with BOMRA. So once all this information is received, they are also to submit completed applicable statutory forms. This is very critical. And then once we have all this information, what we do internally now, we screen the dossier. This happens within 2 weeks of receipt of the dossier. And then once we've screened and we are happy, we continue to do a verification exercise to confirm availability of also the assessment reports and any other critical information that may be needed. And then we prepare and present application for peer review firstly, which is where we present to the technical teams within the NRA before now we can then present to the registration committee for a regulatory decision. And then the committee will then issue a decision within 90 days as per commitment by our CEO, who is one of the heads of agencies for ZAZIBONA. So in terms of progress to date, as I have said, for the new process, we've managed to timely close applications which were submitted with positive recommendation letters from ZAZIBONA within the 3 months, even shorter, maybe a month and a half so far. And as I said, we have currently other applications which we have received, and we believe they will be closed by the end of this month. We believe there will be more, since ZAZIBONA has closed many applications through this process lately. We are anticipating even more to be closed by the end of this month. And then as I said, we are trying to really adhere to the promise that the heads of agencies have made of closing these applications within 90 days, and we are managing. So we've also developed a database manual currently, but in the process of kind of making it, improving it such that the tracking of the applications is good enough to assist us in the adherence to the promised timelines. And then I'll talk to the challenges that we are experiencing. These are not really major because for our application that have been submitted through ZAZIBONA, we don't change a lot we don't expect additional. We don't do any extra assessments. As I said, we just do verification process. And also some of the country-specific requirements, such as updating of the labeling, applicants are allowed a 1 year post-approval timeline to change all those aspects. This will include maybe the registration number as allocated by BOMRA for the particular product, also the scheduling status. So these are the changes that we expect, but applicants are given 1 year post-approval to make these changes. So the challenges we have are not really much. But however, what we've noticed, as I said, that applicants submit through the BOMRA portal. We noted that sometimes applicants would choose ZAZIBONA pathway on the portal. And then when we try to do screening, we realized that there's no recommendation from ZAZIBONA, positive recommendation. So we to try and assist the applicants, we do continue stakeholder engagements where we share with them our expectation regarding their submission for such products. And then sometimes it's applicants not choosing the pathway when in actual fact they do have positive recommendation. Also for the same, we're just doing stakeholder engagements and trying to share with them our expectation to facilitate them, and then also ensure that we are able to meet the timelines. And then lastly, this one, let me leave it out. It's not even measure. As you may know, with the current ZAZIBONA, applicants don't have to submit prior to the NRAs as it was previously. So, but we still see where applicants submit positive recommendation and then their products are already with us. Maybe they've been here for maybe 5 months already, but now they are submitting positive recommendation letter. But we do close them immediately when we receive such letters. So basically, that is BOMRA's experience with ZAZIBONA process. We've benefited a lot, continue to benefit, and we are happy and acknowledge ZAZIBONA for the assistance so far. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Ethel, for the sharing the experience that you've had. For those of us who have questions, please bring them up. And I also think one of the key things that I've appreciated there is that people are using this process. The question is, do we understand the timelines? And I think the delays that most of the cases, the first 2 cases, the delays are happening because we are remaining with our materials and not submitting the feedback that you're requesting in good time. And I think that is an opportunity for us as industry to improve and get things better. Next, I'm coming in and I'm going to introduce our next speaker. I will be sharing experiences from what's happening from Namibia, that is Bertha Alpo, Evaluation and Medicines Registration Officer. So she's a full-time pharmacist at the Namibia Medicines Regulatory Council and National Regulatory Authority operating under the Ministry of Health and Social Services in Namibia. She joined NMRC in 2020 and has since played a pivotal role in ensuring the safety, quality, and efficacy of medicines submitted for registration. In addition to registration-related assessments, she also reviews post-registration amendments submitted for approved medicines and related substances, ensuring that any changes remain compliant with regulatory standards and uphold product integrity. She serves as the focal person for ZAZIBONA centralized procedure and actively contributing to the regional harmonization and streamlining reliance-based evaluations across participating member side countries. So she'll be talking about the high experience and also the experience from Namibia. And I'll be bringing the screen up just now. Let me know when you can see it. And thank you for honoring us the invite. Let me know when you can see it.
Yes, thank you. I can see the screen.
Good.
Yes, thank you very much for the wonderful introduction. I would also like to thank the APN and the ZAZIBONA coordinators, as well as the Registrar of Medicine and the Head of Department, Ms. Saren Shifotoka, for this opportunity to share the insights of NMRC, which is the Namibia Medicine Regulatory Council, in terms of navigating the ZAZIBONA CP recommendation adoption. So my main focus will basically just be on the current ZAZIBONA CP pathway. Next slide, please. So this flow chart actually sort of details what happens to your application once it's submitted to NMRC. Basically, that's after it has received a positive recommendation by ZAZIBONA. So what happens is, as you can see from the beginning of this flowchart, I hope you can all see the mouse as I indicate. So the applicant prepares for submission. Basically, is the application positively recommended by ZAZIBONA or not? If it's not ZAZIBONA CRP approved, then it has to now go through the normal NMRC pathway. And if it is recommended positively by ZAZIBONA, as NMRC does rely with ZAZIBONA approvals, then the application sort of proceeds now to the next stage. This is where the applicant has to submit an updated dossier that's within 12 months of ZAZIBONA's approval. So basically, there should be a positive recommendation letter and product sameness declaration, as well as the ZAZIBONA approved packaging set, patient information leaflet labeling, as well as GMP status, as NMRC also does rely or does recognize ZAZIBONA's GMP inspection approvals. And after the application has been submitted, then the NMRC will issue a screening number, whereby we will start initiating the screening process. And if this dossier is complete, then it goes to the next stage, whereby we issue an approval notice to the applicant. And if it's not complete, then we issue a screening rejection notice to the applicant, whereby they can resubmit after rectifying deficiencies. And to move on to when the screening is approved or when the screening is complete, the application will now move to the next phase, which is the verification phase. After the applicant receives the screening approval notice, they are actually required to submit proof of payment for the application, as well as the positive or the approved screening outcome. So it makes me move to the next flowchart, which is next to it. So I'm starting from the bottom, moving upwards. So after proof of payment has been made for the application fees, and then the application proceeds to the verification process, whereby we look at the product sameness, GMP status, as well as product information, and also country-specific requirements. Just as indicated by BOMRA, our requirements are not so different with regards to, especially with the package insert, with regards to what's mostly approved by ZAZIBONA. Then from the verification process, you would find that if there are any queries or deficiency at this point, there will be communication with an applicant. If all is well, then this application will now move to the next phase. And that will be the report findings are presented to committees. We have about 2 committees that usually look at these reports that are generated, and the committees will now make a recommendation to the council, which is the NMRC council board members. So the council can render a final registration decision. This can be an approved application or approved with conditions or a rejection. So whichever decision that the council has taken, then NMRC will notify the applicant of the regulatory outcome. This could be a registration certificate with post-marketing obligations or the rationale for rejection. Then once an application has been approved, it will now move to the next stage whereby it is added to the human register database. So basically this is just as a focus with regards to an application that has received a positive ZAZIBONA reliance pathways. This is just to outline the processes and the stages that your application goes through before we reach to the final stage. Next slide, please. Yes, so the opportunities that NMRC really the opportunities and benefits will basically be accelerated review timelines. NMRC utilizes ZAZIBONA assessment to fast-track decisions, thereby also reducing an overall review lag. There's also an improved access to essential medicines, streamline approvals to reduce duplication, as well as capacity building. We engage in joint assessment, as well as the trainings in ZAZIBONA that actually strengthen the evaluators' expertise, as well as harmonized practices across SADC. So I might also want to point out that with the legacy platform that was before the current platform, I think Namibia was the second or the first, if I'm not mistaken, that had most of its application registered through this pathway. The number should be roughly not less than 145 applications that Namibia had actually managed to register through the legacy pathway. But with regards to the current platform for ZAZIBONA, the challenges that we have experienced are submissions of outdated application. When we mean an outdated application, this was probably a dossier that was initially submitted to ZAZIBONA without sort of addressing all queries that were raised. So when an applicant submits an outdated application, it sort of causes a frequent back and forth, especially during screening and verification. So applicants are always advised to submit an updated one, meaning that if they had queried about stability data that was not available at ZAZIBONA, so that should be completed when they submit at country level. And the other challenge is delayed applicant responses, and the extended turnaround times for query resolution actually hinders the 90-day review targets. So you would find that you had screened and then there's a delay in the applicant responding to the queries that were raised, or you have done verification and there are some documents that are pending. You would find that there's always that time taken before the applicant responds to that. So that also causes a challenge to meet up the 90-day calendar target. And the other challenge that we face as an NRA, we have an absence of an integrated regulatory system. This impedes timeline monitoring and process transparency. And also another challenge is a bureaucratic system of approval. As shown in the flow diagram, we have about 3-tier systems of approval, and this actually also hinders timely approvals. However, interventions that have been implemented, we have a draft applicant submission guideline that is in-house, currently under comments, yet to be presented to the council for endorsement. So this guideline will sort of guide applicants in terms of who's eligible, what they should submit to NMRC, and who to contact or who to meet with before they do their submissions, sort of just to guide applicants on what NMRC requires for them to provide. And this guideline will also be updated on NMRC's website, so applicants can also get familiar with it once it has been endorsed. And we have also implemented ad hoc council meeting implementation. So this is sort of to expedite the 3-tier system of approval, as it also hinders the timely approval. So all in all, NMRC does really benefit greatly from these ZAZIBONA pathways, especially when it comes to streamline approvals of essential medicines. So basically my presentation mainly just focuses on the current ZAZIBONA pathway and what happens to your application once it's submitted to NMRA, as well as the opportunity as an NRA that we face, including the benefits and challenges. So this would be the end of my presentation, and that is NMRA's emails and contact details. Thank you so much for having me. Thank you.
Thank you so much for the wonderful presentation. And the key thing is still the feedback flow and the timelines upon which we're getting the information back to the NMRA to be able to facilitate the submissions. Great. We're going to the last presentation of the day, and this is going to be by Maunge Arthur, who is a Chief Regulatory Officer, Registration Medicine Control Authority of Zimbabwe, MCAZ. So Maunge Arthur is a qualified pharmacist and a dedicated pharmaceutical regulatory professional, currently serving as the Chief Regulatory Officer in the Evaluation and Registration Division of the Medicine Control Authority of Zimbabwe. With over 6 years of experience in the public pharmaceutical sector, 4 of which have been at the National Regulatory Agency, Munyaradzi has developed deep expertise in medicine registration, regulatory policy, and quality assurance. He holds a Bachelor of Pharmacy degree from the University of Zimbabwe. He is currently pursuing a Master of Science in Pharmacy Administration and Policy Regulation at the University of Western Cape. He is also enrolled in Postbachelorate Certificate Program in Sustainable Medicines in Africa through Purdue University. Munyaradzi is passionate about pharmacy advocacy and the visibility of pharmacies in all areas where medicines are discussed and or handled. He is also recognized for his leadership roles within the Pharmaceutical Society of Zimbabwe, where he currently serves as the National Vice President and plays a pivotal role in regulatory workshops such as ZAZIBONA and WHO initiatives. These highlight his commitment to advancing pharmaceutical standards across Africa. He is confident, goal-oriented professional with strong belief in innovation, excellence, and service. Munyaradzi aspires to contribute meaningfully to the development of robust regulatory frameworks and sustainable pharmaceutical systems in sub-Saharan Africa. So I'll hand it over to you, Arthur. You are on mute.
Sorry about that. I would like to thank the MCAZ management, the ZAZIBONA coordinator, as well as UAPN for the opportunity to present on MCAZ experiences, challenges, and opportunities with both the legacy and current ZAZIBONA procedure. I would also appreciate the kind introduction from you, David. So my name is Mnyadzi Maunge. I'm the Chief Regulatory Officer in the Evaluations and Registration Division, and the division is in charge of the safety, quality, and efficacy review of medicines intended for marketing, sale, and distribution in Zimbabwe. So I'll walk you through Zimbabwe's experience with ZAZIBONA, focusing on our registration process, our key challenges, and opportunities we are leveraging on. So this is just a brief introduction of what MCAZ is. It was established by Section 3 of the Medicines and Allied Substances Control Act, and it came into existence on 1 August 1997, making it one of the oldest standalone national medicines regulatory agencies in the region, if not the oldest. So our mission is to ensure access to safe, effective, and good quality medicines, as well as the protection of public and animal health. We attained WHO GBT ML3 in May 2024, and we're working towards getting the illustrious ML4. So MCAZ is one of the founding members of ZAZIBONA, which was founded in October 2013, and currently we are the ZAZIBONA implementing agency. So now, when it comes to the ZAZIBONA registration pathway, it starts with the joint assessment of the product at ZAZIBONA. So the product goes through the assessment by active members, and it gets a recommendation. And then when it comes now to MCAZ, the applicant is supposed to submit an updated full dossier, which includes all the changes that the applicant is requested to do by ZAZIBONA. They're also supposed to submit a cover letter showing intention that they want this product to go through. This product was recommended by ZAZIBONA, as well as they have to then submit the proof of recommendation, which is the recommendation letter from ZAZIBONA. So all ZAZIBONA products will be treated as expedited, will be treated under the expedited review pathway. So this then has the application fees also will be for the expedited review pathway, which then also intends that the registration will be done in 90 days and not more than 90 days MCSA time. So after that, after we receive this, the documents, MCSA requests for information from ZAZIBONA so that we can then verify what the applicant would have submitted to what ZAZIBONA would have approved, and also then assess all administrative issues which are in Module 1. Then after that, we take all of this, we present it in the registration committee, which then gives a decision whether to intend to register or intend to refuse the product. So this we then send to the applicant. So if there are queries, the applicant will receive queries together with if the committee then agrees to intend to register, it then means there'll be queries as well as conditions that the applicant needs to agree with. So if the applicant agrees to this conditions or responds to queries, these are then reviewed. If acceptable, the product is then registered. So an applicant is given 45 days to respond to queries if it's an intent to register, and they're given 60 days to respond if it's an intent to refuse. However, we haven't, if the product goes through ZAZIBONA, definitely if all the information that they provide is also true and correct, and it's also the same information that would have been approved by ZAZIBONA, it then goes through and it's given an intent to register. So the applicant is then given 45 days to respond. And then, like I said, since it's expedited, the applicant will get their registration of their product within 90 days. So this is MCSA time. It doesn't include the time that the applicant will take in responding to these queries. So it is then advised that the applicant should respond to all queries as quickly as possible and as correctly as possible. So some of the challenges that we faced with the legacy ZAZIBONA procedure, and some of the challenges also anticipate in the new centralized procedure, which is the country-specific requirements, as there will still be need to navigate through the statutory labeling requirements, the application fees, as well as other administrative processes. But in a way now to try and solve this problem, applicants are then advised to use our guidelines, mainly the MCSA guideline on drafting and publishing of SMPC, the SADC guideline on product information and labeling. And then we are also currently working on the MCSA guideline on product information and labeling. And on top of that, we are also in the process of harmonizing some of our non-statutory country-specific requirements to match those in the region, so that it makes it easier for applicants also to navigate our labeling requirements. And this would also quicken the registration process. And it's also advised that applicants submit correct labeling in the initial, so that if there are other issues that need correcting, they will be minor when we then send in the other correspondence after we do the assessment. Not that they send the wrong thing at the first, so that we then respond correcting them, and then after that, so that makes the whole process longer. And then for opportunities, ZAZIBONA will help us accelerate market access. So the review and registration of ZAZIBONA recommended products will be expedited. So that means the product will be there on the market in not more than 90 days. And then this will also allow for faster access to essential medicines. And then ZAZIBONA centralized procedure also helps us in streamlining our submissions and enhancing regulatory efficiency, as tracking of these files will then be made easier, as all of these will be in country, and now we don't have to go back to ZAZIBONA to ask about the product, where it is, and whatnot. So in conclusion, MCSA remains committed to regional harmonization through ZAZIBONA, and as you'd noticed under the challenges, we also use some of the guidances provided by ZAZIBONA, which we're part of and would have drafted together with the rest of our our counterparts, as well as the centralized procedure will offer faster access to safe, efficacious, and quality medicines for Zimbabwe, as well as the region. So thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Arthur. Thank you so much for the insights shared and also the experience that you've shared. So we'll go to the last part, which is mostly on the Q&A session. I'll encourage all of you who are here, please share your questions and also raise your hands. So as we get started, I have a couple of questions that came in early. The first question that I have here is that this is mostly for South Africa, if I'm not mistaken, SAPRA. I've seen that 13% of registered products by SAPRA following the ZAZIBONA recommendation are ARVs. My question is, from last week's webinar, are these medicines not subject to WHO pre-qualification procedures, making them not eligible under the ZAZIBONA deals? What the ZAZIBONA deals with? I think that is on whether the ARVs should still be part of ZAZIBONA or they should be now under WHO pre-qualification, linking it for the previous conversation. So over to you, Sanil.
Thank you, Dr. David, and thank you for the question asked. It's a very good question. So what happens at ZAZIBONA once the application has been received at technical screening stage, it is screened to find out whether the same application was submitted to WHO for pre-qualification. We have had applications that we discovered that they were in process at WHO for pre-qualification and they were withdrawn from ZAZIBONA for that particular reason. Because from ZAZIBONA perspective, we are collaborative in nature and we understand that NRAs also have a pathway for reviewing WHO pre-qualified products as ARVs. So for an example, with these ones that are reflected on SAPRA's slides, the 13% would not have gone through WHO PQ because first at ZAZIBONA, they were screened to ascertain that definitely they were not pre-qualified, and then they were reviewed at ZAZIBONA and then finalized here at SAPRA and approved. So then they're not also pre-qualified. And if I may add, this is what we find delight in collaborating with ZAZIBONA, in that in SAPRA, we also have a pathway for reviewing WHO pre-qualified products. So if you can imagine with me a marathon or at the Olympics, there's a lane for WHO pre-qualified products that will be reviewed via accelerated pathway. And parallel to that, there's a ZAZIBONA review pathway that also enjoys accelerated review. And together, those applications or those products will then be registered when everything is compliant within the 90 working days timeline, ensuring that there is access to those ARVs timeously compared to when the application would have gone through the business as usual route. Because the business as usual route, for example, currently in SAPRA, we are reviewing applications that we would have received early 2024. But for an example, if the application comes through and it's a WHO pre-qualified product or a ZAZIBONA product, a product that has a ZAZIBONA recommendation, it skips that queue and it gets reviewed immediately. It enjoys that accelerated review pathway benefit of accelerated review and being registered timeously.
Thank you. Thank you so much for that. I'll give Joel a chance to speak. Joel, please. You've already enabled your microphone, so please raise your question. Just unmute and ask your question. As we wait for Joel to be in a position to unmute his microphone, I'll go to one of the questions that we had here. And the question is, please outline any provisions you have at the NRA and ZAZIBONA level to help with information exchange with industry to support adoption of these alternative procedures. How can we mainstream and standardize these information sessions? And that is mostly around these kind of forums where people get to know what the process looks like, how are the information, and what are some of the key concerns that you're having so that we can make it be a standard procedure. Anybody can bring their perspectives on this. It's a general one.
Okay, I think I can take this one. So I think starting from ZAZIBONA periodically does stakeholder meetings where they discuss with applicants and they discuss their problems, the challenges, the opportunities, and how this procedure can help them, as well as how to actually submit dossiers. And yes, so at ZAZIBONA, this is done. Even now at country level, for Zimbabwe specific, when we do stakeholder meetings, we telling all our applicants, all our pathways, starting the WHO pre-qualified, ZAZIBONA, even now we have an expedited procedure for ML3 approved products. So we also then tell our applicants on how to then access these pathways. And I think this platform also as well also helps in trying to get to another market that is unable to meet in our stakeholder engagements. So they also have an understanding of what ZAZIBONA does, as well as how to partake in the process.
Thank you so much, Merari, for that.
Okay,
Now see your hands up. Yes, Ethel, yes.
Yeah, let me also add that, yes, indeed, as NRAs, what we do for BOMRA, for example, when every time we have a stakeholder engagement meeting, we do have a segment where we educate on the process. And then also ZAZIBONA has emphasized and advised NRAs to put up our processes for products which have been approved through ZAZIBONA in our website. And BOMRA has been able to also do that. So, and then, yeah, basically applicants do have access to the processes through these platforms. And then also, as Munya said, also organizations like this one, this opportunity you are giving us, it's appreciated also to emphasize on that. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that. Susanelle, your hand is up.
Thank you, Dr. David. Yes, I'd just like to add on to what my colleagues have mentioned about stakeholder engagement. If in our midst there's a stakeholder that has not attended or even received an invitation for ZAZIBONA stakeholder meetings, you are encouraged to go to the ZAZIBONA website. We have contact details there of the ZAZIBONA admin office. Then you can be requesting them to add you onto the mailing list. So if there's anyone in our midst that has not received that invitation, we recently saw one where the industry representative noticed that they are not on the mailing list and they requested to be added, and ZAZIBONA responded. So industry representatives are welcome to do that. In addition to them reaching out to the NRAs to be informed about those country-specific requirements. Our details are on our website. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that. The other question that has just come up here is with regards to biotherapeutics, biosimilars, and even vaccines, if these are in scope for the ZAZIBONA procedure. And if so, then how that kind of translates to the national registration. And the person who asked is looking at it from a cost perspective. So anybody who would be taking that? I don't know, Sakila is also here with us now. Biotherapeutics, biosimilars, and vaccines. Are these going to be in scope for the ZAZIBONA procedure?
I don't know if Sakila is here to answer, but from the meeting, the last meeting we had and the last agreement was, for now, since AMA is taking care of these molecules, ZAZIBONA for now is focusing on small molecules, but the team can also add to clarify. But I think currently that's the position. AMA is doing the complicated molecules for the region and beyond. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you so much for that. Zanel?
Thank you, Dr. David. Yes, I'd like to agree with Ethel that for the current cohort of applications that are being received, when applicants expressed interest of the type of applications they want to submit for ZAZIBONA review, we were informed that for now, those applications can be rerouted to the African Medicines Agency pilot. Applicants, I don't know if they are aware that there is an expression of interest document that ZAZIBONA has published on their website. And that document specifies the window periods that ZAZIBONA will be receiving a different group or different cohort of applications. So industry representatives, please go to the ZAZIBONA website, study that document to familiarize yourself of the dates, the upcoming dates of the uptake of applications, because there are some biosimilars, biotherapeutics that are in the gray area. How the applicant will know whether that particular application can be reviewed by ZAZIBONA is first expressing your interest and having looked at the list of disease areas that are also listed on the ZAZIBONA website as qualifying criteria for applications that ZAZIBONA does consider. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for that. And that is a good point to move us to the next part. And I think one of the other questions that has been coming has been around on GMPs. GMP inspection, GMP requirements. One is whether GMP inspection is part of scope of ZAZIBONA. And beyond that, the other question would be, can somebody apply for GMP inspection through ZAZIBONA without a product at the moment at the time of that application? And what would that look like? I see, brother, you are up. You want to respond to this? Over to you.
Yes, thank you very much for the question regarding the GMP reliance. So basically, I stand to be corrected, but in the current practice now, I think most of the SADC NRAs, they do rely on ZAZIBONA approved GMP inspections. So currently what happens in Namibia, once ZAZIBONA positive recommendation application has been received, we also do make it, when we're doing the verification process, we also do consult the ZAZIBONA GMP inspector within the NRA that also just assist in confirming whether the site has been compliant with regards to the ZAZIBONA GMP requirements. So that has not really been an issue, since I've seen that most of the recommendations are only done after GMP has also been verified. As from Namibia, we strongly rely, we make reliance with the ZAZIBONA inspectors, and we have a focal person with GMP where we make consultation in case of any queries. I hope I've addressed that question.
Yes, and the other question would be whether can they submit for GMP inspections before any product is linked to it, probably starting with a GMP application, then later on coming with a product for the ZAZIBONA pathway.
I have not come across a situation like that before, because ideally we would want to, GMP and the product, they come hand in hand. So I think I would advise that you submit a total package, a product that is GMP compliant as per ZAZIBONA requirements, along with your product. So I have not seen an application or a case where GMP was initially submitted beforehand, but I stand to be corrected by other NRAs. Thank you.
Thank you for that. Ethel, I see your hand is up.
Yeah, I just hope we thank you. I just hope we don't misrepresent the ZAZIBONA GMP team, but just like what Betha is saying, up to now, we haven't had or seen a situation where we just do GMP and we don't have an application for a product from that particular site. But yeah, I think that's the position now, unless for some reason we are not aware of it. Unfortunately, the GMP team, I don't think they are here to help us confirm that.
Okay, that's okay. Thank you so much for that. Another question that came to me that I'm going to look for it just here now. The other question that came is, for country-specific requirements, because this is something that has come out across all your presentations, how can we move towards harmonization of the same, especially where we have critical disparities around labeling information requirements? And what would be the influence on AU model law or even AMA operationalization to support that kind of harmonized requirement so that we don't have so many disparities? Ethel, you can take that. Then Arthur, you'll add to that as well.
I think with labeling, we have tried to align. There is a labeling guideline developed, ZAZIBONA, for the member states through SADC. However, there are some elements such as each member state, they would have their own registration numbers, maybe even scheduling statuses, which are governed by the laws within the countries. So even though we've tried to harmonize labeling requirements, there are still aspects which will remain very difficult to harmonize. But there has been talk for some time. It's just that where the laws are involved, it's really not easy. But as I said, for Botswana, fortunately, the changes that we expect in the labeling do not really affect the decisions made, because applicants are given time beyond the approval, 1 year, to update those requirements in the labeling. So it doesn't really delay registration. But yeah, the team can add, but that's the issue for now.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, yeah. So I think in addition to that, when it comes to Zimbabwe, we have been trying to align, to adopt and adapt the SADC guidelines to our context. However, there are some statutory labeling requirements that we cannot do anything as long as the laws have been changed. However, we have been trying to lobby and advocate with the government to also work on these, and I'm sure they are working on trying to align these requirements, as these actually affect access to medicines, as some applicants, some manufacturers shy away from markets that have very difficult labeling requirements. So this is something that we acknowledge and we're actually working towards.
Thank you so much for that. Zonel, you have any addition to that?
Thanks, Dr. David. Yes, just to echo the colleagues' sentiments that there are ongoing talks, even in SAPRA, about harmonizing the labeling requirements, those country-specific requirements. Yes, we are in discussion about that. And whenever there's new developments, the applicants will be informed of such via our websites and other means. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for that. There's a question here from John. Sample testing, how is this managed in ZAZIBONA, and progressively can artworks be used for review and recommendation for approval? This is with regard to samples testing. Anybody?
Sorry, can you please come again with the sample question?
So the question is, in terms of sample testing, how is the sample testing requirement being handled at ZAZIBONA level? And can artworks progressively be used for review and recommendation for approval? So in other words, I think John is looking at it from a point of exemption on sample requirement to be submitted for testing, but instead having the review be on the artworks and the specific artwork materials to guide the recommendation. John, I hope I've not misquoted you. Your microphone is also enabled. You can unmute and clarify if there's need for that.
Thank you very much. That's well clarified. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
If I'm not mistaken, at ZAZIBONA, when it comes to samples, we are requesting a picture of the samples, and at ZAZIBONA currently we're not testing. But when it comes to the different NRAs, I think these are part of the country-specific requirements.
Okay.
Yes.
So then the sample testing will be at the country level, and therefore the need to be implemented at the country level, not at ZAZIBONA.
Yes.
But I see you have an additional component.
Yes, just to echo to what has been said, I think you just took exactly what I wanted to say now, that at ZAZI, we don't really test samples. And in Namibia, currently, we require at least one sample in its commercial pack. Yes, because initially it used to be about 3 samples, which has now been reduced to 1 sample pack size to be submitted at the time of your application, at time of dossier application. Yes, submission, sorry. Thank you.
Thank you so much. There's somebody who was
About Arthur, how many samples do you need for MCZ for ZAZIBONA kindly? Thank you.
Okay. So currently, for all product applications, we require two samples per product.
Thank you.
fantastic. Thank you, John, as well, for bringing that up. With regard, there's another question from Alfred. Assume we are a consultancy company in Zimbabwe, specifically in GMP guidance and of biologics. How could we benefit from ZAZIBONA harmonization through consulting other companies across the SADC region? So I think from his perspective, he's asking about the benefits for a consultancy working on GMP guidance for biological products. Heather, you have anything to add to that?
No, in fact, I wanted to ask you to repeat the question. I'm sorry, I didn't kind of get it.
So the person is asking if there are consultancy based in Zimbabwe, specifically supporting the organization with GMP guidance for biological products manufacturing. How could they benefit from the ZAZIBONA harmonization as a consultancy across the SADC region?
I think I will say, as we have indicated earlier, that currently ZAZIBONA is not assessing the biologicals. Hence, maybe that inquiry they could take through AMA and see how they could assist AMA with their skills to facilitate approvals. I think it's a good one, but maybe AMA would best be suited to benefit from that expertise.
Thank you. Because then biologicals are not within scope, so even the GMP aspect would definitely not be in scope to ZAZIBONA at the moment. Yeah,
yes,
makes sense. Then the other question here, are there plans to harmonize review of post approval changes through the ZAZIBONA joint procedure? That is with variations or anyone?
Thank you, Zach. For now, the discussion is not yet on the table. The questions, yes, have come even amongst ourselves as to, way forward in that area, but nothing really agreed. But it would be a good thing to explore and maybe do, but for now, not yet. We are not yet there.
Okay, thank you. Over to you. See, you have your hand up.
Yes, maybe just to add to what Ms. Ethel is saying, that currently, I think I stand to be corrected by Sakile, if you could also step in. I think what happens is once an application has received a positive or any recommendation from ZAZIBONA and it goes to country level, that now becomes an issue of the applicant and the NRA with regards to whatsoever changes that they want to make after it has been registered. But I do also acknowledge the challenges that since it was assessed through a harmonized pathway, I'm not sure if there have been, if Sakile can step in maybe to just guide with an update, but more or less, I agree with what Ms. Ethel has said. Thank you.
Thank you for that. Sakile, any
let me just give a quick input on that. So the issue with post-approval changes is that the timelines that we have for any post-approval change at ZAZIBONA would never be able to meet or beat, rather, any timeline that the individual member states actually offer you, because we have quarterly meetings. And if a country is telling you that they can actually do a post-approval change within 90 days, there is no way that we would be able to do that faster than them. There is, however, a conversation that is ongoing with all the other, you're aware that EAC,
I think we've lost you.
The WHO is trying to come up with some kind of a mechanism that would then assist in mapping out how post-approval changes could possibly, be handled. It is ideal to have a full product life cycle within ZAZIBONA, because we are also concerned that if this product once upon a time was the same and then becomes varied across the region, it may then mean that it's not exactly the same. But in closing, I would also say that let's also appreciate what the initiative is trying to do. The initiative is not a regulator. So your regulator is the NRA. They have the responsibility to register the product. They also have post-marketing mandates as well. So what ZAZIBONA is trying to do is to assist the member states to get the product and the applicants to market. And thereafter, then the responsibility shifts, like Ms. Bertha was saying. So if we then, appreciate what the initiative is designed to do and actually take on that this is what it's capable of at the moment, and then we welcome the ideas to see how it can then further assist. But the more that the centralized process takes on begins to be that we don't want ourselves to become a supra NRA, because we are not. All this collaboration is in the interest of supporting the NRAs themselves to become more agile, to be, not to overuse the limited resources that they have. But if we then shift everything, you might then end up having the bottlenecks being shifted from the NRA now to the supra structure. I hope that assists everybody. Over.
Thank you so much, Sakile, for that. Really valuable, because we are supporting the NRAs, not taking the responsibilities of the NRAs. At the end of the day, we have to work, and the regulatory authorities at the country level have to safeguard the public health interest. And the products are regulated at that level, not regulated at the regional level. So that becomes a key piece. Another question that has come in, and this is mostly for Namibia and Zimbabwe. You look at it, there are current guidelines that are being reviewed and they're awaiting adoption or final ratification or approval by the councils. Are there any provisions and mechanisms in place where industry stakeholders can contribute to this before they become laws? And did that happen? That's a key question here.
Thank you for the question. So with regards to Namibia, this one is more of a submission guideline. So sort of to guide the applicant in terms of what is required, what is the starter package. Although it's not exclusive, additional information may be requested during the verification process. So this guideline is more of an submission guideline. I do not think it will go through. I still stand to be corrected, but I don't believe it will go through stakeholder engagement. So this is sort of just to guide the applicants out there of what are the requirements and what they should submit. But we are also open to guidance from stakeholders, if that would be the case. But since it's an sort of a guide for applicants, I'm not sure if that would still go for stakeholder engagement. I submit.
Okay. Thank you for that.
Okay. And then for that question, yes. So as with guidelines that affect all our stakeholders, these are shared with them for comments, and then all their comments are then considered before the guidelines are ratified and then made final. So definitely the product information and labeling guideline will be shared with all our stakeholders so that they also comment and also give us their perspective. So we also the guideline is very comprehensive.
Thank you so much for that. I see we've come to the end of the session that we had today. Maybe I'll give you 1 minute each to just give your final comments and final remarks. Then we come to the end of the call. I'll start with Zanel.
Thank you so much, Dr. David. I'd like to just express my gratitude to the APN network, to the ZAZIBONA Coordinating Office for allowing SAPRA to be represented in this event. And to the industry representatives, we always welcome your applications, especially coming through via the ZAZIBONA pathway. They are aligned with SAPRA's public health emergency targeted type of products. And we remain collaborative even with the industry to ensure that our requirements are known by yourselves so that you may be able to comply with them and that the applications themselves and the products can be approved timeously. Should you have any questions, there is a SAPRA email address for queries that you can use to send through your questions as they relate to the SAPRA specific requirements. Thank you so much. Thank you, colleagues.
Thank you so much. I'll move it over to you, Batham.
Yes, thank you very much for this opportunity. We also I think Zanella said much of what I was about to say, but maybe to also add and guide applicants to always hold a meeting if need be for clarity, either with the NRAs or with ZAZIBONA before you make your submissions. And maybe just to add that we do receive a lot of ZAZIBONA applications, and the ones that have been reviewed by ZAZIBONA are also part of our essential medicine list. So always don't hesitate to send emails or hold a meeting for clarity just to guide you. So just involve the NRA from the beginning to the end of your product registration. I submit. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that. I'll go over to you, Ethel.
Thank you again, Doc, for this opportunity. Thank you to APN for the platform. Thank you to ZAZIBONA for the experience BOMRA has had. As I have said in the presentation, we've benefited for years. We continue to benefit, and we are very thankful. And then to our stakeholders here, to say BOMRA is ready, as I have indicated. As you just go into our portal, you choose if your product has been assessed through the process and you have a positive recommendation. As you submit, indicate that in the portal. Immediately you do that. The manager, same time, they see the submission of the application on their side, and then the process starts. And as I have already also shared in my presentation, we have already been able to close applications timely, even quicker than the time as promised by the heads of agencies. And I can see, the future is bright for all of us as NRAs and for you if you use the process. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for that. There is a commitment that you're delivering on what your promise has been and even going above and beyond. Over to you, Mujarati. Yes.
Okay, so thank you very much. So I think I'll start by thanking the MCZ management, ZAZIBONA coordinator, as well as you, David, and the APN network for also allowing us to share our experiences with a wider audience, and not just in our region, also but in East Africa, as well as in the continent, so that also know what happens with the ZAZIBONA procedure, and also hope that we get more time also, or more platforms also where you can share these experiences, as well as I'd like to also encourage applicants to use the ZAZIBONA collaborative procedure, and we are more than ready to receive all those ZAZIBONA recommended products. And for all questions, I think I'll put the email addresses in the meeting chat. Please feel free to ask. And the more you ask, the more you understand the process, the easier also the process is, and also the easier for us to then assess all your products. But thank you very much for the opportunity you've given us.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Ella. Over to you, Sakile, as our convener from ZAZIBONA coordination team.
Hi, if I could just say thank you to everyone for the presentations that they made. Also acknowledging APN for this opportunity for us to speak broadly about our initiative. We look forward to further engagements. Our door is always open if people want to learn more. And as we said last week, we will try to update our website more so that you don't have to be worried about where to access information. So once again, thank you, everyone.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure hosting you. It's been a pleasure learning with you for the last 2 sessions. Now this is the second session. For all the people who joined, please let's keep engaging and let's keep asking ourselves, how can we make regulatory processes better? And in this conversation, I think one of the key pieces is the regulators have made a commitment to meet the obligation and the commitment they've made. On our end, we need to follow through on that one by using the processes that are in place, but also ensuring that within the timeline that we've made a commitment to, we submit and actually deliver on those particular requirements. And in that case, then we will all agree and achieve our obligations of ensuring that the safe, effective, and quality medicines being made available to the patients who are counting on us. With that, we come to the end of the sessions. You'll get your certificates being sent to you within the coming week, all of them for all of the sessions that you've attended, but also the CPD accredited points. So for those who are in Kenya, that will be sorted from that level. On the other countries, you'll be able to request them based on the certificate that you'll have received. If you have any questions, any concerns, please reach out to us on email. I've sent the email address in the chat, and even feel free to engage us on LinkedIn and all our social media channels. Other than that, I'd wish you a great evening, great afternoon from wherever you are. Enjoy the week ahead and make the best of it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.